Hello, everyone, and welcome back to PopCultX, your go-to for all things pop culture from our Gen X point of view. My name is Danny, and along with Gabriel, we are happy to be joined today by a comic book artist, creator, and the founder of the Arizona Comic Book Art Festival, Ryan Cody. Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It is very cool. I stumbled across the Arizona Comic Book Art Festival. That's a mouthful to begin with.
Yeah. I really wanted like the ASCAF.
Okay.
But it's too late now. But I kind of wish I'd just gone with like Arizona Comic Festival or something like that. It would have been a lot easier.
It's okay. I mean, it makes it. You make the people work for it, which is good.
Right.
But I stumbled across it when I was looking at one of this year's participants, Jay Gonzo's artwork. And I'm looking forward to getting out there to meet with him in person. We've had him on our show before. So when I stumbled, what is this comic book art festival? Then I started exploring more of what it is. And I was fascinated by it. And hopefully you can tell us a little bit more in depth about what it is, what you're hoping to inspire more of, and why it's such a very curated event.
Yeah. So, the last question first, I guess, is that it's curated mostly because it's so small. We only have 100 tables, space for 100 tables. But also, I wanted it to be curated for a specific reason. Was the whole reason I started the show was I was tired of seeing comic shows invite 50 media guests and a bunch of cosplayers and writers and stuff like novelists and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. But I wanted a show that was focused just on comics. There's a great convention every year in Charlotte called Heroes Con. And Heroes Con does not have any media guests, does not have any publishers. Everyone in there is an artist or a creator of some sort. And so I kind of wanted to do it. I kind of want to do something in that vein, or even something as like lofty as Lucca, the comic art, or Lake Como. I think it's Lucca. There's a festival in Italy where it's just artists, and it's limited, and it's limited in space, it's limited in ticket quantity. So I wanted something that was just 100% focused on comics and comic creators, and so that's why I started the show. And the space is limited. We didn't want it to be so big that I felt like I had to, I had to sell tables to again, nothing wrong with people who like knit pop culture stuff, but like, that's not what our show's about.
Right.
And so I didn't want to feel like I'm going to have all these leftover tables. So I have to sell these tables to people that aren't comic artists. And so, I like that we're at 100 tables. Honestly, I could probably go smaller, but we're at 100 for now. And that's what it was. I just wanted to celebrate comic books and the people who make them. And I felt like other shows that were called Comic Cons the comic creators were now an afterthought. If you go to a big show, if you're a comic guest at a big show, you have a different green room than the actors from whoever plays, the superheroes in the WB TV shows. They have a whole separate green room where they're kept separate from everybody. But the guy who's drawing the book, it doesn't get to even like be in the same room as them.
Right.
And so that was just kind of like, it was trending more and more towards that. There's shows that I see now that have like 5 comic guests and like 15 media guests. And that's just that's not what I want to see in a show. I like small shows. I personally do better at small shows. And so a curated kind of boutique style show, I thought was a good idea. I guess it's whether it is or not is still up in the air. This is going to be our third year. So every year has its learning curve, and we try new things while trying to keep to the spirit of the show. But yeah, that's kind of it. I just wanted to, I really just wanted to celebrate other people who make comics, and I wanted to hang out with my peers and kind of have a fun weekend in Phoenix when it's not, the end of May and 110 degrees.
Yeah, I hear that. It's very cool that you're keeping it very intimate, and it does create or foster like direct interaction between the creators and their fans. So I like that. I enjoy that very much, that aspect of it. Um, I've lost my train of thought. Oh, I'd also like the fact that I saw that there won't be any like vendors of like you said, pop culture knickknacks. So I think that's really cool because it takes away that whole element of, people not just shopping there for other stuff, but they're just solely focused on comic books.
Right. If and we were able to keep our prices down. Our ticket prices are low. The parking's free. So hopefully everyone who walks in that door is walking out spending something,
Yeah,
as opposed to if you go to and when you spend anything in my show, you're supporting a creator,
exactly.
or a retailer. We do have comic book retailers there.
Right.
But yeah, like a big show, you got to pay $20 to park. Tickets are going to be 50, $60 per person. So if you have three or four, a family of four, you're already down a couple $100 before you step foot on the convention floor.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, we like having it affordable. And like I said, if someone walks in the door to my show, they're buying something, they're walking out with something. They're also there to, they're there for a reason. Like there's a creator, like you mentioned, you saw that Gonzo was going to be there. So there's a creator that's going to be there that they want to see, or, maybe they're looking for a back issues to complete like a collection they have, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, it is on March 22nd. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
In
Saturday,
Phoenix.
March 22nd.
And I will, of course, link to the AZ Comic Art Fest website on the show description and notes so people can go find it. They can buy tickets online there.
Yeah, they can buy tickets to our website, which is, I got it pulled up here because I always forget. It is azcomicartfest.com.
Okay.
And there's a link there to buy tickets. Our guest of honor this year is Kevin Eastman. So
right.
We're excited to have Kevin. We're excited to have Juan Gedeon out from California. Brian Azzarello, Stephanie Phillips are coming back out. So it's a good maybe 6 or 7 guests from outside of Arizona, and then all the best creators we have in Arizona.
That's cool. I saw that Kevin Eastman was going to be there, and I remembered because I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty for some reason, and they just released all 4 Ninja Turtle skins with the voices, so it's really cool to see that and to connect it, of course, back to Kevin Eastman in the original comic book series. So It's very cool that he'll be there.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about you, if you don't mind. So you're a comic book artist and illustrator. Tell us a little bit about your journey into comics. How did it all start for you?
I think most like most all other creators, I grew up reading comics and I loved it and thought, as soon as you do like one doodle that someone compliments you on, then you're like, oh, that gave me positive attention. Someone's showing me, attention for the first time in my life. And so, you're always doing doodles. And then, I started, I would start copying panels from, like Walter Simonson X Factor and stuff like that. And then it's just something that I wanted to do. And I just never really thought I could do it, because when I was trying to get into comics when I was much younger, right out of high school, it was like during the Image heyday. And so I didn't draw like Jim Lee or Mark Silvestri, even though I wanted to, I couldn't. And so it really kind of fizzled out pretty quickly for me. I got a couple rejection letters and I was like, okay, well, it's not going to happen. And then around the late 90s, early 2000s, I started reading comics again. And I fell in love with Powers, and I fell in love with Mike Oeming's artwork. And I noticed like, oh, wow, now you don't have to draw like Jim Lee anymore to have a book at Image or something like that. And so I was in art school at the time getting a degree in 3D animation, which I didn't want. I mean, they didn't have comic book courses or 2D animation degrees, so I had to do 3D. But yeah, so I started, I was, my instructors there were like, oh, your character designs are great. They make, they're very, you got a great style or whatever. And so I basically just started, like I said, looking at more Bruce Timm stuff, more Mike Oeming stuff, really getting into Mike Mignola. Okay. And so I kind of like leaned into that. And then back then when I got into comics in like 2006, when my first book was picked up, it was like the floodgates were open. There's so many small publishers, so many people were getting published. It might have been the easiest time to actually get into comics. And so like the second book I ever pitched, got picked up. So that became a 4-issue series.
Oh, nice.
And then it kind of just went from there. I mean, I never really drew books like on a large scale for big publishers, but I've drawn stuff that Dark Horse has put out. I've done some anthology work that Image has put out. And so I've kind of always been on the cusp, or, the edge of kind of like indie comics.
Okay.
And then a couple of years ago, I decided, I was talking to Phil Hester, and I was telling him, like, I think what I really like to do is color. That was what I was having the most fun doing, was coloring. And so Phil, because he's Phil and he's awesome, he remembered that conversation. And then he had a book that he did with Jeff Lemire at Image Comics called Family Tree.
Oh, okay.
And Phil just called me one day and he's like, "Hey, do you want to color this book?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to color this book." And, Jeff was great. Jeff was like, "Well, Phil wants you, then you're fine, so whatever."
There you go.
And so, so I colored the 12-issue run of that at Image. Nice. And then I've colored a couple things at DC. So I'm more of a colorist now. And if I do draw, I tend to draw my own stuff. I don't actively look for penciling and inking work. I would much rather just color. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
For those people that are out there that are thinking about getting into the industry, I know sometimes people are a little hesitant to give out words of advice, but if you could, what would you tell people that were interested in getting in the industry as far as, how to do so?
Yeah, it's never been easier to kind of network. Well, I guess that's not true. It was easier to network before. Kind of social media is kind of in a weird place right now. Mm-hmm. But the best thing to do is find like a peer group, find people that are around your, skill levels, probably not the right term, but somewhere where you are at, find a group that's doing the same thing that you're doing and just kind of rise up together, champion each other's work. Now at Kickstarter, anyone can put anything out. There really is no breaking in anymore. It depends on what you want to do. If you want to be an indie creator and you have a following, you can just kickstart books forever.
Yeah.
I color a book called Impossible Jones that Carl Kessel writes. And he's worked on Superman. He's worked on all the big books, and that's what he does. He kickstarts his book once a year. Yeah. And so that's an easy way to do it. But if you really want to get into like Marvel, DC, then you need to kind of still be the guy, or the person who like studies anatomy and is really good at anatomy and really good at like superhero comics. Mm-hmm. So I guess my advice would be, what kind of comics do you want to make, and then focus on that. Brian Stelfreeze told me once that like you almost want to be a specialist, even though comic creators, we all say that we can draw anything, and that's what makes us kind of unique in the world of illustration and art. But you want to be, Brian Stelfreeze was telling me, like, you want to be the guy that they think of when they have a project. So if they have like a crime book that needs like a noir feel, mm-hmm. you want the editor to immediately be like, "Oh, that guy, that guy is who we want." So I don't think there's anything wrong in specializing, but yeah, you definitely got to do the work. Comics is work. There's a difference between someone who just like does like sketch covers and commissions. And that's not getting you work in comics. That might get you cover work.
Right.
But if you want to be a comic artist, you have to actually draw comics. And that's a lot of people want to be in comics, and then they realize how hard it is to draw comics and how time consuming it can be. And when you're breaking in, unless you have a super successful independent book, or you're working for Marvel or DC, the page rates just it's hard to make a living off comics. So my other piece of advice I give people is do it before you get married and have kids. Like, if you're going to make a run for it, if you're going to try it, do it when you're rent's low. Move to somewhere in the middle of America where rent's cheap and make a go of it, where you can live off lower page rates. But
there you go.
Yeah, I had kids early, so for me it was never an option to work only in comics until my kids were a little older.
Okay.
But it's definitely something you should try when you're younger, I think, and you have less responsibilities financially. Yeah. And just do the work and meet people and be easy to work with. There's a lot of it is networking. when editors are putting people on books, they're putting people on books that they know are easy to work with, that they have a good relationship with already. They don't want to take a chance on somebody, and if they do, they're not going to take it more than once. So if you're not reliable, you're not responsive, or you're just generally like a pain in the ass to work with, like that's going to be the last time that editor. And I don't think a lot of young creators understand that it's not, Marvel is not hiring you to draw Spider-Man. Nick Lowe or whoever's editing Spider-Man is going to hire you to draw Spider-Man.
Right.
There is no Marvel guy. There is no DC guy. I mean, there are talent guys, but for the most part, it's editors that are hiring creators. And so you just, again, you got to be, you got to be easy to work with. You got to be able to communicate.
That makes sense. If you had, let's say in your own style, a dream project, whether it be an existing IP, a character, a franchise, or whatnot, who do you think you'd love to work on?
Oof. The easy answer is Batman, but Batman's been done to death by everybody, and I'm not going to have a unique take probably on Batman. I would like to do something in the Hellboy universe, whether that's a Hellboy one shot or even Lobster Johnson, or there's a great 2-issue series a couple years ago called Sledgehammer 44. That was Jason Latour drew, I think, and I think they might have had another mini series after that. But like he was just a cool character design, kind of a cool vibe.
Yeah.
Cool vibe. What am I talking about? But yeah, like it would. But yeah, like I would like to do something in that world, but more in the more in the fantastic corner of the Mignolaverse, not like the Witchfinder stuff or the Baltimore stuff. I'm not really too into all that, but yeah, if you give me like a giant sized guy who punches things, that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
that's cool.
When we talk to artists, I'm always curious and like to ask, where do you come up with inspiration, or how have you developed your style of character development and being able to come up with like cool looking characters?
Yeah, I personally, I just tend to lean into like my strengths. So my strengths are not like sexy women. My strengths are kind of like gnarled dudes who are big, old. Like I like drawing the book I create that I work on now. It's called Old Man Thunder Punch. It's because I wanted to draw an old man punching things.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm probably working something out there, but it's been a lot of fun. And something like that was, I did a design for a book. Oh man, maybe 10 years ago that I was going to pitch with the writer, and it just never went anywhere. And I really liked the design. And in the back of my mind, I would find myself sketching this character and not really thinking too much about it. And so when it was time for me to do Old Man Thunder Punch, or when it was time for me to do a book on my own that I wanted to do, this design was kind of already in my head. Like I didn't go through like a bunch of versions. Like it was there, fully formed.
That's cool.
But yeah. So if I'm doing a book, I try to big hulking dudes. Superhero stuff I love. The more I've worked on superhero stuff, I want to get back into kind of indie stuff. So like coloring now, I want to color like crime books and horror books. Even though I don't really read horror books, they're fun to work on. Yeah. Just I don't want to. The worst thing you can do is design a character that looks super cool and then realize on page 4 that you don't like drawing that character. Whatever intricacies he has, or however overly complicated you think the cool design looks, when you have to draw it, from every angle for multiple issues, that's a real bummer. I did that on the first book I ever did. I didn't, by the end of the first issue, I was like, oh man, I wish I could change this design.
Oh no.
It's like too late at that point.
Oh goodness. Yeah. you have to stick with it now.
Yeah, I tend to keep things very simple.
Okay. Yeah, that simple is a lot easier, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
A kind of follow-up question to that is we're a pop culture podcast. We talk about all things like music, movies, television. Do you find yourself being inspired by any of those things? And can you share with like some of your maybe favorite movies or music that you have drawn inspiration from?
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, I don't listen to a lot of music. I have a hard time. So if I'm jumping between work and I'm working, if I'm writing or if I'm like doing admin stuff or sending emails, I can't listen to music. So I just don't listen to a ton of music while I'm working. But yeah, I'm trying to think of like an example. I don't really have a good example of a TV show. I mean, I watch a lot of TV, but I don't watch a lot of. It's funny that I'm on this podcast today because I don't watch a lot of like pop culture stuff. I'm really not into. I watch most of the Disney and Marvel stuff, but I'm not like obsessed with it or anything.
Yeah.
So most of I'm trying to think, like, definitely, like, when I watch The Americans or something, or even Justified, I think it'd be fun to do like a kind of like a crime book in that vein, or Fargo.
Oh, yeah.
But the idea of doing that is the idea is fun. The idea of drawing like a crime book that's real grounded actually doesn't seem that fun to me. But coloring it does. So, that's where I land on that, I suppose. But yeah, I'm trying to think of an instance. Yeah, I can't really think of an instance where I watched a show and I was like, oh, that's really inspired me to do something. But just general good storytelling, good crime storytelling, good character work. I like people with ulterior motives. I'm big on like revenge and vengeance. That's big. That's big for me. It goes through a lot of my work that I especially when I write. There's a lot of vengeance themes there. That probably another thing I should probably work out.
We love to see someone get their comeuppance and have their karma come back and bite them in the ass. So
yeah, there's so little of that in the real world that it's I have to look for it in media and storytelling.
Yeah. Well, very cool. I'm looking forward to your show. I'm hoping to get out over there. And hopefully it's a huge success as a past two, and I hope it keeps growing and all the creators get to interact with their fans, and I just hope it's a wonderful event for you.
Yeah, it's definitely unique in that it's because there's not 20,000 people in the room. You can spend time actually talking to a creator.
Exactly.
You don't have to obviously some of our bigger creators, they have lines, but it's not like they would at like, the Phoenix show or something like that. So it's, if you want to really talk to creators and spend some time chatting with them and, getting books signed and showing your appreciation, it's a great show for that.
Nice.
Absolutely. Well, Ryan, thank you for joining us on PopCultX to talk about that. Please stick around and embark on this next topic that we're going to talk about, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And we're going to talk about a little bit about streaming platforms. Now, I came up with this because I realized I have a lot of different subscriptions to so many different platforms, and I think it's almost ridiculous how many I have. And I was like, why am I spending so much on so many? Is it now worse than cable was back in the day? So they got me thinking, okay, how can I translate that into a topic for our show? Of course, came up with an idea of, the state of streaming, state of union's coming up. So are we subscribed too much to too many different platforms right now? That's my first question to both of you. Gabe?
I would vote no. I'm kind of greedy, and I love having options. My attention span is really short, and so I get bored with things very quickly. So I love to be able to go from one streaming service to the next and be able to switch up shows, movies. One night I may be really into like a horror show. The next thing I want to watch is like a crime drama. So I love having as many choices as possible, and I don't mind paying for it. I haven't sat down and actually like added up how much we're actually paying for all the streaming services. Maybe that might change my mind if I knew exactly how much we're spending. But at the moment, I'm just happy having lots of choices because I get bored very easily.
Yeah, I have pretty much. I don't know how many I have, but a lot. I've thought about paring it down, not for any reason other than the fact that some of the stuff I'm paying for, I might not even open that. Like maybe my kid will watch something, but I don't like Netflix. I never turn on Netflix, and every 6 months they're raising the price. So I don't, it's not the money necessarily; it's the value I get out of it, and I don't,
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm a little like I have several streaming platforms that I subscribe to just for sports. So I could get rid of most of the ones that are just mostly TV, but there's certain ones I have to keep because of sports.
Okay.
That's like 90% of what I watch is soccer and hockey. So it's yeah. But if I added it up, I would probably be shocked. Like we have like the Hulu Live plan, which is outrageous. It's like as expensive as cable. Just Hulu with live TV is what we used to pay for cable. So to add everything
Right.
else on top of that, like it's a good thing that we don't really look into it.
Right. And I see both points. I mean, Gabe, I never thought about it as like just you have so many options because you get bored and you just flip flop around and yeah, I guess if I look at it that way, you can never have enough then, right? There will never be enough streaming platforms for you. And like there's so many free ones now, like what, Tubi, Freevee, and all these other Pluto TV. And it's weird because I turn on Pluto TV, one of the free ones I watch like the show Ghosts on because it's free on there. It gives me when I turn it on, it goes to like Chicago news for some reason. So it's interesting. I can watch different cities' news channels. Um, but I don't know. I mean, I think personally, I kind of wish I can go back just to cable, but I don't want to be connected or tied into just one service. So I think I'm with you, Gabe, in that having the many services is the options is the better route.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just what I tend to think. And the cost wise, yeah, I think I'd be scared if I added it all up each month.
Yeah, I think that it's sort of like Ryan said, it's like the value that it's giving you right now. I feel that I'm getting a good value from all of the streaming services that I have. I can pretty much on a every night, kind of flip on one of them and find something that kind of holds my attention for the night, and then the next day I could be on Paramount Plus or and Max or whatever it is, and get into a show that they have. I think that each one of them has been working really well to kind of curate their own catalog of television or movies. So you have like a good feeling of like, I know what's going to be offered on Max. I know what's going to be offered on Netflix or like Amazon. They each have their own like different flavor, at least to me they do. And then you kind of know what you're feeling for in a particular day or night, and you kind of watch that one for that night, and then go to the next one the next day.
Yeah, like I have like Paramount and Peacock to me are interesting because they're the two cheapest ones that I have, and I have them for very specific reasons for soccer. And
Okay.
so if anything else pops up on there that's good, then it's like a bonus. Like I'm happy, I'm thrilled if there's like a good movie, and there's usually good movies on them. So like I'm thrilled that bonus is there, but the value for me is the sports, and that's why like I'm kind of Netflix doesn't give me any value. I'm not a big wrestling guy. So yeah, like, and again, it's the most expensive one for, in my opinion, the least amount of value. Again, you ask my wife and my son, they probably think Netflix is the best. Um, but like, yeah. And so like certain things I look forward to. Yeah. Like you said, Gabe, something you look forward to is like, Apple will give you this kind of prestige TV show. Prime will give you like a mid-grade prestige show where you just can watch like Reach or Punch things or whatever. So yeah, each one has a value to it. But like I said, I don't watch. It's not sports. I really don't watch too much TV. I mean, there's a couple shows that my wife and I sit down and watch together. But outside of that, I don't like binge shows or anything anymore.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I mean, for me, I think when I see services now continually to increase their prices, I think Disney did it like twice last year, and now they're also including ads, and like Netflix now has ads, and like if you're in the limited ad whatever, you can't watch some of the shows because they're locked by licensing or whatever. It just frustrates me, I think, at times where the pricing increases, but the what they have available as the what they have available decreases. So I guess it's time maybe to cut cords or ties with Netflix and move on to something else. I mean, I don't know if I watch that much on Netflix anymore. Have you guys thought about cutting or moving off of a platform because they've raised prices on you guys?
Yeah,
It's kind of sad to say, but I'm not like really that focused on the price.
Oh,
I could be
that's a good
wasting
thing, though.
I could be wasting a lot of money, but my household is. I mean, we are kind of thinking about getting rid of. I think we have YouTube TV, and I don't think that there's much that we watch on that. So I think we're thinking about getting rid of that. But I think we're kind of happy with what we have. I, I'm not. I don't know. I know that it's something that I should be more, worried about the cost. But right now I'm not. I'm trying not to think about that. It's like, how much am I spending at the comic book store? How much am I spending on streaming services? Like, let's just not think about that. And
Just put your
because,
blinders on, right?
yeah, yeah.
um, do you guys have a favorite streaming service? I know, Ryan, you said you watch mainly sports. Is that like mainly Peacock then, or what's there? Do you guys have a favorite service that you know that maybe 5 nights out of the week that's what you're going to be on?
For me, it's probably Paramount. There's a soccer show I watch every morning on Paramount Plus.
Oh, okay.
So just that is worth the value for whatever it is, $6.99 a month or whatever for me.
Yeah.
I'm up early and it's a morning show. But yeah, I guess if I was gonna okay, let me find a good movie to watch. Your natural instinct would be like, oh, HBO Max or Disney. But I tend to find better movies that I tend to like on Prime. So yeah, for me, it's probably the sports ones, and then probably Prime is what I watch more than anything.
That's cool.
Yeah. For like mainstream stuff, like right now, I'm really into the show The Pit on Max, HBO Max. Really good show. But Prime, I find that I find really cool old movies from like the 80s that I've forgotten about that have like Linda Blair in it, like playing like a prostitute that goes after like people and like going back to like revenge plots, like goes after guys that like beat up her sister, and I don't know, like just really cool 80s movies that are like super cheesy, like B movies. I tend to find them on there, and those are really entertaining to watch because I haven't seen them since like I was a kid, which maybe I shouldn't have been watching them when I was a kid, but it brings back old memories. But yeah, it's fun to kind of watch that old vintage stuff.
80s vintage. Wow.
That's a long time ago, Danny. We're getting old.
That's true. It is true, but I it's like you say the 80s and I picture it like 10, 15 years ago, right? Not like 40 years ago. So maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I saw somebody write something that someone who was born in 2000 can technically be a grandparent now.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Or yeah, no, wait. Their parents. If your kids were born in 2000, you could be a grandparent.
Yeah, that's
something like that. I mean, that's not my strong suit, but yeah, basically.
That's wow, getting older, huh?
Yeah.
You find out, Ryan, that you mentioned that you have kids, that your kids are into things that you were into when you were younger. I know there's a lot of like new stuff that is coming out that is a throwback to like older times, or like like they've re-released like Batman toys, re-releasing Masters of the Universe, like things like that. Are your kids into any of that stuff that maybe you were into?
Yeah, not so much. Like my kids are older. Like my youngest lives with me, but he's an adult. So my kids are older, but mostly what I notice is the music. So if they come over and put something, they take over the Bluetooth or whatever.
Yeah.
They'll be listening to music that's from the 80s and 90s. But yeah, like TV, sometimes I'm shocked. I'll mention a movie to my kid that's like a super popular, well-known movie from, the 80s or 90s, and they'll have no idea what I'm talking about. Like they've never, or even actors, like certain actors, like if I asked my kid like who Nicolas Cage is, he would have no idea.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then I'll be like, what, The Rock, Con Air? Come on, Mandy?
Face Off.
Come on. Yeah, Face Off. Yeah, he'd be like, no, they don't know.
No.
Yeah, and then they also watch, they're always trying to get me to watch like anime and stuff like that, and I just don't get into it. We recently bonded a little bit over Arcane. I did watch the first season of Arcane. I think that's the name of it. That was a Netflix. So. That was probably the last thing I watched on Netflix, and that was like over a year ago. But yeah, other than that, they're all like these young kids these days. They're all YouTube. Everything they watch is on YouTube. Yeah, and I can't, it drives me nuts. The ads on YouTube. I mean, I guess I could pay, but that's another service I don't want to pay for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's some YouTube stuff I watch, but yeah, I can't. To me, a YouTube video, if it's longer than like 8 minutes, I'm not watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny you say that because my nieces and nephews, every time we visit them or we go to where they're at, they have TV on, but it's YouTube. And they're just going through one video after another of like some random people. It could be someone, they're watching someone else play a video game or something like that. It's like, what are you doing? And I don't know. It's just weird to me.
Yeah, the other day, last night, my son left his phone in the kitchen, and he had been watching a playthrough of a video game. And so my wife's like, he just left his phone there, and the game is still playing. He's not even playing his game. And then I had to explain to her, like, he's not playing that game. He's watching someone else play that game. Exactly. She's like, what's the point of this? I said, I don't know. And then I have another friend from high school who has young children, and like they just watch videos of other kids playing on YouTube, other kids playing with toys that they don't have on YouTube. And they're like, oh yeah, this kid's like a multimillionaire. This
that's
kid
true.
Ryan or whatever. And I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
They'll watch shows with just like one of them. I was over there once, and one of the younger one was watching a show about like goats. It was just someone set up cameras in their backyard and they have goats, and it just streams 24 hours a day. And she would just sit there and watch the goat thing on YouTube for hours.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I just got a beta fish. Maybe I should put a camera there and just stream that.
There you go. There's your retirement plan right there.
Very funny. So the future of streaming. Now, where are we headed? So do you think we're like a breaking point maybe where people will say, you know what, I want my physical media again? Because I know that's also a touching point where like people are wanting their physical media instead of streaming because they don't feel like they actually own anything if they own it digitally or just license it digitally or streaming it, where they want the physical media to prove their ownership of it. Do you think that's something that maybe we'd be swinging back towards?
I think that people already are. At least the circles that I'm in, people are collecting even VHS. I just got a buddy of mine just sent me a VCR.
Oh, okay.
I have a VHS. I don't have any tapes or anything anymore. But yeah, there's a whole like collector. It's kind of like the way vinyl came back. VHS and Blu-ray are coming back. I have when we moved a couple of years ago, I have like maybe 50 Blu-rays and DVDs that I still have, even though I haven't played them in years. I still hold on to them. Box sets.
Yeah.
Like I have a box set of The Wire. It's like one of my favorite things I own, even though when I want to watch The Wire, I just turn on HBO and watch it on the streaming, but it's something I still want to have.
Yes. You have it there, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's especially with like, to bring it back to comics, like Dark Horse Digital is shutting down. And if you're only using it on a web browser, you can't download anything. You don't own anything. Right. So all these books you bought for whatever they cost, $3 a book or whatever, If you're not able to download it, then you just rented that book for, maybe you rented it for 10 years for $3, but still you don't get to keep it.
Right.
And I know when Comixology originally shut down, not them part of Prime now, but before, that was part of the thing too. It was like, oh, this book's no longer available, but people paid money for that book.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I definitely think box sets and stuff are going to come back, especially for like really prestige shows,
Yeah.
I think that for collectors, it's something that speaks to them, like being able to actually possess something. I have a friend that collects cassettes, and I would have never thought that cassettes would ever come back or be desirable ever again. But now that I know that people collect them now, I like see them everywhere, and they're super expensive for like an old, cassette that I probably threw away when I had it back in the day. So yeah, definitely. I think that there's always going to be a group of people that want to physically hold something as a collectible versus having it in digitally. I'm one of those people. I love having like the physical book. It's just the only thing that I like about having a digital copy is that like I run out of space and I only have so much room in our house to store books or comics or DVDs or Blu-rays. So that's the positive side for that for me.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I'm with Ryan. I think I have like the videos or the box sets. I think my sister one year sent me the original trilogy Star Wars on VHS along with a VHS player. But I think just for convenience, I'd go stream it on Disney Plus and instead of unless I wanted to watch the unaltered version. Um, but yeah, it's I don't know. I think they're having the media is fine. I think I'm more of the on the cusp of the digital age where I don't want to own anything. I just want to be able to stream everything. Personally. Maybe that's
Yeah.
just I mean, I have few comic books, but I'd rather read them on my iPad or something. I don't know. That's just
Yeah, that's the thing. I've never got into digital comics. The only time I buy digital comics is Kickstarters for the most part.
okay.
Because like I'm really old enough that like I think a floppy comic should be no more than like $5.
Yeah.
And so I understand when Kickstarters are up, I've run Kickstarters. I 100% understand why people charge what they do. But I'll just get the digital version, or if it's, especially if a creator from another country, I'll just get the digital version. Other than that, like I never really had a Comixology account. I mean, I have an iPad, which is almost the perfect size to read comics on. It's almost comic book size, but I just never do it. I want to feel the comic. Like I want to,
Yeah.
yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Right on. Thanks for indulging me, you guys, on this topic. It was just something that was on my mind. So I guess we'll turn to part of the show where we talk about anything that we stumbled across, watched, listened to this past week in pop culture. Gabe or Ryan, anything you guys have off the top of your head?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
there
go
was
first,
a
Dave.
film that I went to AMC and I did a like pre-screening of a movie. You go and you don't know what it is. You pay $5 and then when
Oh,
the
okay.
film starts, you start you realize what movie it is. So it was a film called My Dead Friend Zoe, and it has to deal with military and PTSD and a woman's dead friend Zoe, who she sees her in her mind in her life as she's kind of dealing with getting back into reality, into her civilian life. And she has her friend Zoe kind of by her side, and she's going through a lot of tumultuous things. But it's actually a really like there's a lot of humor to the film. It is one of those films that does have its like dark and like sad points to it, but it's kind of uplifting at the same time. And I think that it is a film that is good to watch because it is kind of necessary for us to see what our military personnel deal with when dealing with being deployed and then coming back home and having to re get back into regular life, if you will. And so this film does a really good job. It's really cool too because the filmmaker casted a lot of veterans. So a lot of our vets are in the movie, and it comes out tomorrow. So
Oh, okay.
I recommend it. Like I said, it is got its sad moments, so be prepared for that. But it's a really good movie. The actors are really great in it. Morgan Freeman is actually in it, and Ed Harris. So they have some like really cool veteran actors, as well as some new faces. So I recommend that for anyone to go check out.
There was a movie a couple of years ago, a Tom Holland movie. I think it was called Cherry, and it was the same thing. He came back and he was having trouble readjusting. Yeah, for me, we started season 2 of Severance. What else? There's a new show. I think it's on Prime, maybe called A Thousand Blows. Might be on Hulu. It's got a very Peaky Blinders feel to it, which I think maybe is the same creator. And yeah, so I'm a sucker for like anything like English or Irish or just set in that world. And there's it's violent, so it's right up my alley. I really enjoyed. So I'm watching Invincible.
I just
but I also I was surprised at how much I enjoyed Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man as well.
Yes. See, Gabe, go watch it. It was really well done, right?
Yeah, there were some moments because the 3D, the way it's animated, there's some things that are a little clunky for me personally, but overall, I really, really, really dug it. And I like seeing, same with Invincible. I like seeing you could see the comic creators work up there. So Leo Romero did a lot of character designs for Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So did Ethan Young. You can kind of see their styles on screen. You can see Corey Walker and Ryan Otley on screen with Invincible. So I really enjoy like that aspect of it. But yeah, they're good. Like I won't watch anime, but I'll watch Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man or X-Men '97 or something.
Very cool. I've been continuing watching Mythic Quest on Apple TV. I really enjoy that show, which led me to one of I guess the end credit songs they had in one of the episodes was by a female-led punk rock band from Mexico City, and called Ultrasonicus. So if you haven't heard of them, go look them up. They're really cool. They've been around for a while, I guess, and I just kind of took me into a deep dive into their music. So that was really fun. So thank you, Mythic Quest, for introducing me to them. And who knows, maybe they'll be on our show sometime soon. Maybe I'm teasing for a future show there. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that's what I've been up to, just watching that. I haven't started Severance season 2 yet. I don't know why I'm waiting. It's just one of those ones where like I like season 1 so much, it's like I'll hit play sometime soon.
Yeah, for me, it's not that I don't like when I say I don't watch a lot of TV. It's not that for any other reason other than I don't have time to devote to it. Like,
yeah.
So you're saying like older movies earlier. So if I'm gonna just like, life is so stressful sometimes. I don't want to have to like put all my effort into watching TV, no matter how great it is. So that's when I'll throw on like, I'll throw on a movie from the 80s or 90s that I've seen 100 times. I'll throw on like Grosse Pointe Blank, or I'll throw on, even newer, well, quote unquote, newer movies like 22 Jump Street's like the best comedy, of the last like decade or more. So I'll watch that every single time I come across it because I don't have to think. I can just watch it and enjoy it, and I don't have to use my brain. So watching something like Severance, I can't. I used to be able to binge shows, and now I can't. I'll watch like one episode of that, and I'm like, okay, well now I gotta like turn my brain off and do something else. And so because of that, there's so many good shows that I'm watching one episode at a time or whatever that I feel like I stop watching things and I just forget to go back to them. Mm-hmm. But I also don't like miss them. So maybe that says something too. I don't know.
I read somewhere that there is something to having a show that's like a comfort film, and it really de-stresses you because you know what's going to happen. So you're not on edge there.
Uh-huh.
And
yeah.
it makes perfect sense. Yeah, I'll put on like a film that I've watched several times that I know it's going to happen because not just because I enjoy the movie, but because I know, I don't have to think about it. Just
Yeah, there's no anxiety over like what's going to happen.
exactly.
For me, that's American Dad. I can put on American Dad, like episodes that I've watched before, and like can almost like speak the script verbatim, and I just put it on and it makes me feel good. One, because it's a hilarious show, but two, it's calming to be able to know what's going to happen, what the plot is, and no surprises.
Yeah. American Dad is fantastic. I can't believe I waited so long to start it. I'm on season 8 now. So I'm making my way through. And I always laugh whenever I hear Patrick Stewart's voice. I'm like, how did they get him to do this?
Yeah.
It's just awesome. I enjoy it. And you were right. Roger is like everyone's spirit animal should be. And he is just wonderful. So, yeah.
I've never seen a single episode of any of those shows.
I'm not what's Seth MacFarlane's other show, Family Guy?
Family Guy, yeah.
I'm not a big Family Guy fan. I never really got into it, but American Dad is just a really hilarious show. I'd recommend it to everyone. It's just something about it is just really connects with me. Really funny. The comic style is really funny. It's not totally different from Family Guy, but it's different enough where it's not the same style of humor as Family Guy. So I don't know. I think maybe it's a little bit smarter.
Yeah, I think so. I recommend it as well, Ryan. If you want a new show, just to something to have in the background, because you don't even have to pay attention to it too much, and just hearing some of the jokes and the running gags that they have in there, it's worth a go.
All right. Well, maybe I'll give it a shot. No promises though.
We'll have you back on 2 weeks from now. Your eyes bloodshot and like I stayed up all night watching it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all I have for this week. Anything else you guys want to add?
No, I'm good.
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for supporting the show, telling your listeners about the show. So hopefully it's a good one. And if you do come to the show, come find me.
Yes.
I should have my own table, but I might be roaming around as well. So
I will make a point of that. Thank you for spending some time with us, Ryan. We appreciate that. Everyone out there, be sure to go look up the AZ Comic Art Fest. And we'll see you guys all next time. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, guys.